So, Sharon, why don't you tell me, if you don't mind, why you call Arkansas home?
Sure. So my family moved here when I was very young. I'm originally from Tennessee. So I always kind of born and raised in the South. We moved here. I had an aunt who at that time had a thriving um, medical practice. She was a OBGYN. She's passed on, rest her soul. And we moved here to come and live with her just for a new opportunity. My mother and myself and my brother came to Arkansas and lived with her for a while before um, finding our own home. And I've been here ever since. My mom has kind of left and come back, but I have stayed here and chosen to raise my family here. I attended college at the University of Arkansas at Little Rock, and I met my husband my senior year while I was in college, and his family is here. He has a big family that lives here in Arkansas. And so we just decided that this would be our home and where we wanted to raise our children and create a life for ourselves. And our children, are thriving. They go to school locally, and so it's been a wonderful place for us to both ourselves grow up and raise our family.
Oh, that's so cool. So, how long ago did you move here to be with your aunt?
I was either 11 or 12. I
Oh,
was really
okay. So you
young,
were a
11 or 12.
kid.
Yeah, I
So,
was a
where,
little kid.
yeah. So, where in Tennessee did you move from?
Nashville.
Oh, wow. So,
Yeah,
what was
we lived
it
in Nashville.
like as a 10 or 11-year-old moving from Nashville to Little Rock? Did you move to Little Rock?
Yes.
Okay.
So because my aunt was very much a pillar of the community, she was already very well respected and well known in Little Rock. And so it made it easy. It was a really seamless transition. I have a cousin who is her daughter. Already was going to a local Christian elementary school. And so my brother and I were able to easily just transfer into that school. And that was actually my first time going to a private school, and I love the small class sizes and the sort of intimate um, connection that you have with your teachers, because it is just it was a Christian school, so you're learning biblical curriculum as part of the learning process. And so it was a pretty smooth transition. I didn't once feel like an outsider, and that is one thing that I will say Arkansas has to its credit, is that it is definitely a hospitable place. And I've had other folks from other states who come to visit Arkansas, and that's one of the first things they say they recognize is just how friendly and welcoming people are. I felt that way as a kid, being welcomed, and I never felt like an outsider here.
Well, that's so important too, since you were 10, 11. I was that age when I moved, and I didn't have as smooth of a transition. I mean, it was in Tennessee, I was in East Tennessee, but I've been hearing a lot from people about the people of Arkansas being so welcoming. Do you
Hmm.
have any examples of that, or, thoughts on why the people who live in Arkansas are the way they are so welcoming?
Wow, I feel like some of it has to do with the migration to the state. The the way that the state is made up of this collection of people who came here from surrounding states. Um, I also feel like it's part of it is Arkansas, in specifically Little Rock. It's a hardworking town, a hardworking state, right? Most of the wealth that is built here, a lot of it has just been built on, blood, sweat, and tears. And the folks that do reside in Little Rock, it's very much a community of people who kind of look out for each other, um, who recognize the importance of family and recognize the importance of lifting each other up, because, you know, that is our way, is to support each other and help each other. And I won't paint the picture that it's just all roses all the time, but I do think that this state is built on a belief and an understanding that you look out for your neighbor, as best you can, and your neighbor looks out for you. And so I feel like some of that has been carried through from, generations to generations. And for me, as a person who's chosen to live here, I also then choose to embody that same way of thinking, because I want my kids to be able to grow up in a place where they are looked out for, and where, they can lean on people outside of their immediate family for support.
Wow, that's really cool and such a wonderful thing to ascribe to too. You've been there, you've been in Little Rock for a long time. You've been in Arkansas for most of your life. Have
Most
you
of my
ever,
life. Yep.
most of your life, have you ever thought about leaving?
I have. I mean, certainly, I feel like some of the opportunities, especially in my field, I work in the field of philanthropy. I feel like sometimes there are opportunities outside of Arkansas that are interesting to me. I definitely have no plans to leave Arkansas anytime soon. I mean, like I said, I have three young boys still in school, so I want to make sure that they have roots. I think that's a kind of a theme too, is roots. People who live here tend to put down roots. This is not a place where it's not a stepping stone for many people. I mean, I'm sure it could be. I'm sure there are some people who come here from other states with some type of a job opportunity and are only here for a short period. But I also think that in many cases, what you find is families that have been here for generations, and they've got roots here. And I believe that even if I ever did leave Arkansas, I would still, definitely maintain, a home here, or something where I would always call this place home.
You mentioned, you work in philanthropy, and I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit to that and that culture in Little Rock in Arkansas. You spoke about people helping each other. Do you see
Mhm.
that the world of philanthropy is strong in Arkansas?
Yeah, I think we have some really wonderful philanthropic organizations here. If we dated all the way back to the Rockefeller family, that initially had um, a strong presence, or has a strong presence here, that Winthrop Rockefeller Foundation, that has been a staple in our state for many, many years. Um, Really help to inspire this understanding of using philanthropy as a vehicle for lifting up communities, and growing um, opportunities, growing people's ability to thrive. I work for the Delta Dental of Arkansas Foundation, and certainly our work is rooted in oral health and oral health equity, and providing Arkansans with access to treatment and preventative services and educational opportunities. And it's for me, it's such a joy that what I get to do is partner with nonprofit organizations that are doing that work. And we get to service funders of various projects and initiatives that they may be having. That's, I think, my experience in Arkansas is what encouraged me to move into the nonprofit sector, because I grew up in an area that was economically depressed, and so it was important for my own development, the community groups around me, the churches, the after school programs, the food pantries, that I was often a beneficiary of those, services. I saw how important they were for creating strong communities, and for helping people, at times in their life when they needed support. And so it was, for me, a calling, I guess you could say, to move into that sector, because I wanted to be aligned with that kind of work, and I wanted to do um, service to those organizations, and I wanted to help improve the nonprofit sector, or advance the nonprofit sector. So that's really what brought me into working for a foundation, because we could really support the sector and their work to strengthen communities.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that about you. That's really cool. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to ask some specific local stuff right now. So you live in Little Rock, Arkansas. Can you share a few of your favorite things to do in Little Rock?
So I'm a big nature person, and that's another really wonderful thing about Arkansas is that we are the natural state. We have some of the most beautiful landscapes and trails and mountains and fields and areas for you just to go and breathe the air. And, you know, that to me, it's a really therapeutic. While yes, it is for exercise purposes, it's therapeutic. It's something I really got into more during the pandemic, the height of the pandemic when everything was shut down. You could go outside still. We weren't, some of our parks were locked down, but the vast majority, especially our hills and mountain areas, were not. And so we were able to still go outside. And that became a form of not only exercise, but just mental health for me, for my kids, for, I think a lot of other people too. So that is absolutely one of my favorite things to do. We have Two Rivers Bridge, which is one of my favorite places to go. We have Petit Jean Mountain. We have tons of state parks that have, cabins and campgrounds and water, pools and hiking area and bike trails. I mean, just tons of things to do outside. So that's really a gift that I feel we have here. But I also like that Little Rock is very diverse in terms of like it's a melting pot. And so at any given time, there may be some cultural event happening downtown or live music or, certainly the Southern food that we have here, that's you can go and enjoy and have that time to immerse yourself in a different cultural experience. So I appreciate that as well.
Yeah, that is something I also love about Little Rock, the outdoors, and there seems to be something always happening, which is really, really great. All right, so I'm going to ask you two general questions. The first is, if you were just to tell me what you love about Arkansas, and you've already done some of this already, but what do you love about Arkansas?
I would have to say it's the people here. I And maybe it's the way that I have curated my circle, right? I've found my people, my tribe, so to speak. I believe that your vibe attracts your tribe. So maybe that's part of why I love the people so much is because I have found groups like Just Communities of Arkansas, where it's just people who care about their community and they want to see it be as strong as it can be. They recognize that there are challenges. They recognize that there are systemic inequities that perhaps block opportunities. And so they want to be a part of finding solutions. And I've just found those types of groups and cultivated relationships with folks like you and our community of people. But again, going back to that hospitable way of life in Arkansas. So that's another reason why I say the people, because here I feel like while I believe I've never met a stranger, I meet a lot of people who also have the same way of being and they're just friendly and welcoming and, helpful and will share what they have. That was definitely an experience that I found growing up in my community was people will you could go next door and, borrow a cup of sugar. You could go to your neighbor if you needed help and they would help you if they had the capacity. So it's definitely the people here.
Awesome. And last question, Sharon, what are your hopes for Arkansas?
I I really hope that we will find more alignment within our shared humanity. Um, I think that's a struggle that many places have. We're not unique in that way of having um, struggles with just really seeing each other and appreciating each other and valuing our difference and seeing our difference as an asset that can truly help um, create a better community versus dividing a community. I feel like there's things we can do. We can learn from other markets and see how other states are using, progressive thinking to advance job opportunities, technology, educational opportunities. And rather than, limit those things, we should be seeking ways to expand them, even if it means looking outside our borders to do so, because I believe that will continue to attract folks to want to come to Little Rock because they'll see us as that leader in industry or thought leader in health and equity, because those things are truly important for how you build a society in which everyone has the opportunity to thrive. That's really what I hope for our state, is that people who live here and people who look into our state from outside, will see us as a place where everybody has an opportunity to thrive, no matter who you are, where you came from. You can be successful here. You can find um, growth and connection in your community here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sharon Lanier, for talking to us or talking to me about why you call Arkansas home. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Hilary.